It is an annual tradition at the Texas United Methodist Historical Society annual meeting to present to one or more congregations an award that honors their efforts to document and publish their local church history. And this is a very important program that TUMHS has pioneered. Not only, I hope, is it an encouragement to congregations in every conference to work on their story and preserve it and publish it, to use it, but through this process, Bridwell Library has received more than 400 published church histories that are available to the public in one place. And I always tell people who ask me, how do I get started writing my church history, I invite them to Bridwell Library to say, there are hundreds of approaches to telling your church's story, and you can see a lot of great examples of how that's done by coming and comparing and contrasting at Pflugerville Library. Well, the winning entry is a substantial volume that arrived in a very small package. Printed out. This electronic file on this flash drive fills 209 pages of paper. Rather than distributing paper copies or flash drives, the church in question published their history online, on the internet, thereby making it accessible to the entire world. So this award-winning publication is both small and large and virtually unlimited in circulation. I will tell you, Bridwell Library will print a copy and put it on our shelves for public use. And I urge the winning church to do the same and to print out and bind a copy for their conference archive as well, because print copies are important, but it's also brilliant to put it out on the internet where everyone can find it. In the future, though, I just want to say to all of us, the internet is great for access, but a printed out copy may last 100 years or more, but church websites tend to last about 5 to 10 years at most. And often when there's a website change, you lose your data. Or, you know, the administrator in charge of it doesn't think that's important enough to put up anymore. So protect your electronic data, but also make a hard copy, please. Now, I want you to know that the winning story this year, the winning entry, is the story of a fairly young church that has been around for the last 36 years. Now, even though this church is young, its roots go back to the early years of Texas Methodism, perhaps as early as 1835, when a circuit-riding preacher held services along nearby Gilliland Creek. The church in question rose from the ashes of a former United Methodist church that closed in 1966 and was mysteriously burned to the ground in 1971, possibly due as an act of racial bigotry. A new United Methodist fellowship organized 12 years later, in March of 1983. They first met in an Anglican church, and then in the town fire hall, which was an unair-conditioned space. So in Texas, you know, these are people willing to go far for their worship service. So they were restarted in March of '83, and in June of 1983, just 3 months after organizing, they broke ground on their new church building. The people of this church were clearly on fire for the Lord. And the rest, as they say, is history. This history was compiled by a team of 7. And the text includes many topical articles and personal reflections written by many other church members beyond that team of 7. This says something to me about the church itself. They value each other and they work together. The church in question is incredibly involved in mission and ministry. Every member has work to do in the Lord's field. And God continues to bless this church with an abundant harvest. Well done, good and faithful historians of First United Methodist Church, Pflugerville. I'd like to have Don German come up now for a presentation of a certificate of award. There will be a plaque later, but today, Don, it is our privilege to award to your church an honor for the work that you oversaw and poured your heart into and your sweat into over the last 7 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Here.
Would you like to say a few words?
Yes. I'm very grateful for this award to the committee, the Kate Warnick committee. This is quite an honor for our church, and to the Texas United Methodist Historical Society. This has been a real hoot for us to be and hear all these stories in Corey's paper and see how you work together across the connection. It's been a real treat for us. Several years ago, I'm a delegate to the Rio, Texas annual conference, and I visited the booth that Bonnie Amaro, her new name, Bonnie Amaro hosted at the annual conference, and she talked about local histories and showed me some examples there. Our 35th anniversary was coming up, so I decided to take it to our church council and see if we could generate a local church history for this time. Well, they approved it, but we had no budget. You know this. We had wanted to have a printed document to start with, but no budget to print it. So we decided to do it on the church website. We had a Squarespace website. And so I learned how to do this, how to use the website and put the history on there, and the team collected the stories. And it was a really great experience for all of us. You may wonder where Pflugerville is. It's a suburb of Austin. Austin is a place where they say, keep Austin weird.
Yes. Yes.
And so just to the north of Pflugerville is Round Rock. So we have a saying, Pflugerville is a place, is between a rock and a weird place. It's a very growing community. It's one of the fastest growing communities in the U.S. When the church was formed, it was very small, a farming committee of originally German community farmers. And interesting, my last name is German, but it grew out of that and is now over 50,000 people. and growing. We have all those growing pains. So our church is trying to keep up with that, reach out to the area, and so we're working hard on that. We interviewed many people, charter members, and when we interviewed one of the charter members, she said, we were on fire with the Spirit. So what a perfect title for our story. You can find it online at either pflugervilleumc.org, or if you want a shorter thing, we in Pflugerville, it starts with a P, F, Pflugerville. So it has, you can do pflame.org, and then on the website it's in the section About Us, and it has 35 years is the connection. So you can go there and look at it. Encourage you to offer this method to your local churches. It worked very well for us. We were able to get many people to read it who might not have. And by having the participation of many of the members in writing the stories, that also helped spread the distribution. So it was a great experience, and I'm very grateful to you and to Tim. He's been wonderful working with us. Bonnie encouraged us to submit this, even though it wasn't a printed document. I was a little reluctant at first, thinking it wouldn't be received, but thanks to Tim and the committee for reading it and for this award. Thank you very much.